Hi, can everyone hear me? Now you can hear me, okay. Good afternoon, Warsaw. I'm really, really happy to be here. There are two things I want you to take away from my speech today. One is if I can do it, you can do it. And secondly is a career in banking technology is very, very interesting. I've been a managing director for 11 years at Citigroup. I run an organization of 5,500 people, and we operate in 75 countries. But it didn't all start that way. I kind of want to roll it back to where my family started, and with this picture. My family's from Warsaw. My grandmother, thank you. When I was asked to speak here, I was really touched. I had no idea it was going to be 5,000 people. Well, the way it was described to me, it was a small 300-person speech, but I said, okay, 300, 5,000, it's all the same. But I kind of want to point to where I started. This is my great-grandmother, Antecita Kuda, her husband, Francis, my grandmother, Mary, and her brother, Adam. They came to America in 1910. And my grandmother, my great-grandmother, worked as a pharmacy helper and a cleaning woman. Subsequently, my grandmother, Mary, had no formal education and wound up getting married and having 8 children. One of those 8 children was my father, who was a very strict Polish man who did not want me to go to college. He felt he wanted me to go to secretarial school. He felt that was a way to bring income into the family, and it was extremely difficult for me to kind of overcome that. But I decided I knew I had what it takes, and I decided to just go to Florida with not a nickel in my pocket, and I wound up paying my way through school myself. That was a very difficult decision, but thematically, from a personal perspective, I've always been someone to take risks. If I look at my struggles in the college world, I didn't necessarily have any guidance on what should be my career path. My family wasn't necessarily educated. Luckily, I was very gifted at math and science. And I gravitated more towards the science world. I wound up taking a liking to computer science. I took an introduction to computer science class, and it just came natural to me. So when I compiled my first program, I wrote the code, and we were actually stacking the stacks of the computer and feeding it into the system. You do something wrong, and then you have to start from scratch. It was really, really about over 30 years ago. But the thrill of the compile, and whether it said hello world to you or you got something back, just like it made me, I don't know what it is, it made me felt like I won an Oscar or something. So that kind of drove me into what I thought I wanted to do. So I go and I look back on my college years. I was the only woman in the room. And I was very lonely. I'd sit through the classes, but I did well in the classes. I enjoyed it, and I pushed on. Come to my senior year, the senior advisor who had worked with me was a very old school gentleman, a very brilliant man, old school gentleman, and he pulled me aside and he said, "Young lady, I understand you're doing well in the class, but you just don't have the aura of a computer scientist." I go, "What?" This is the person who's supposed to be guiding my career. And I'll tell you, that man made me so angry that I still have that anger in me, and it drives me to be, go to the next job and the next job and like strive for perfection. So I think the aspect of having someone tell you you can't do something, whether that's my father, whether that's my computer scientist, or even my boss to these days, when he tells me no, or he tells me I'm not going to fund the project, I go, well, hear me out a little more. And I keep going back to him and say, I could do it cheaper, faster, better, give me the chance. And the element of just taking that risk of putting yourself out there to take the responsibility has always served me well. I'll flip to the next slide, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my current job. I work for Citigroup. So when you think about technology, I think a lot of women don't necessarily think banking could be an interesting job. And I'll tell you, you're wrong. It is a fascinating, fascinating career that I have, that I've been able to work with different cultures in 75 countries. I've built an onboarding program. I've digitized the KYC experience. I'm in charge of the reference data strategy for the investment bank. And that reference data strategy is actually a key to all of our digital solutions for our client base. The builds are working with the clients, whether it's trading, whether it's sales, and our customer is at the table with us, designing solutions that make their life more profitable and their engagement with Citigroup a pleasurable experience. I run, one of the things I like the most about my job is I run the innovation labs. I just had the privilege to be in Tel Aviv yesterday. So if anyone has read the news, it was a very interesting day to visit our families and our firm in Tel Aviv yesterday. We have labs in Singapore. Tel Aviv is our main hub, but also in London and in New York City in the Cornell lab. The Cornell lab is a very interesting arrangement where we partner with Cornell and many startup companies to build product together, and we sometimes are their financial backers, but the environment of the innovation is where you work with startups, build product, we teach each other, and we really build the customer base together is a fascinating, fascinating piece of my job. And one would think classically in a bank, that type of arrangement wouldn't be available. I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about exactly what does it mean to be a technologist within the Citigroup confine. We are a 200-year-old bank, but we have tremendous technology innovation going on across the bank. If you look at, I highlighted some of the activities that I oversee in the bank, and I'll go into a little more detail on some of them. Artificial intelligence, a large buzzword in the community, but we deliver advanced solutions to a wide range of use cases such as price predictions, market impact predictions, client recommendations on securities, research materials, and many, many more. The example I give is a customer would come into our office, and based on their trading patterns, we would actually digitally tell him what kind of research material would be interest to him to develop new trading strategies with our sales force. We have many, many projects across the bank working close with our customer at our offices, leveraging our data scientists and our PhDs developing these very sophisticated solutions, which is extremely interesting. On the NLP side, we build state-of-the-art systems that know how to interpret interactions between Citi and its clients and generate insights out of them. These insights could be a different variety of touch points and use cases and used across different channels like chat and email. One example of that would be automation of responses to client inquiries. So a client would come in and ask for a status of a trade or a status of a transaction. We would actually build the technology to digitally answer that using the NLP or chatbot solutions via our client portal strategy. One other example would be monitoring some of our trader conversations in chat and email to ensure from a regulatory perspective we're governing chat and email processes globally through the bank. And what's really interesting is the client comes into us and designs and develops with it. So you have user engagement you're using latest technology, and it's an environment that changes very, very quickly. You're not working on projects that work years. You're turning over new product monthly. You're doing weekly agile releases, and you're dealing with the customer. So when you talk about computer science, some people say that you're going to be sitting in a cubicle, not necessarily having that human engagement. I will tell you, in the banking world, it's very client, customer focused. You leverage a lot of new technology, and it's extremely interesting. I'm gonna kind of look at some of the data engineering work that we're doing. External cloud and building our portfolio of services on the external cloud is extremely exciting. We're working on a project called Data Highway, where the most popular data sets used in the bank are being put out on the external cloud, leveraging Google, BigQuery, and Jupyter Notebooks. And we're teaching our sales and trading to use Python and other tools to kind of gain access at the data. We want to train our sales and trading staff to be more technical, and our group is front and center on ensuring that our trading and our business partners are skilled in giving them the latest technology. Now, time is up. I see the big red sign. So what I will tell you, I'm going to go back to this. This is my family. This is my grandmother. I had no money to go to college. My father told me, go be a secretary. I will tell you, with grit, with perseverance, you could be me. And I tell you, I have the best job at Citibank. So thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's time.